we get your name and spelling real quick?
Yeah. Philip A. Talbert, P-H-I-L-L-I-P, middle initial A, last name Talbert, T-A-L-B-E-R-T. I'm the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of California.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. Are we ready to go? Great. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. I'm Phil Talbert. I'm the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of California. With me today is Jonathan Snow. He's an Assistant Special Agent in charge of the FBI Sacramento Division. Today we're here to announce the dismantling of a drug trafficking organization operating in Mexico and California that was responsible for moving and distributing large amounts of methamphetamine, fentanyl, and other illegal drugs, including into the Central Valley of California. On Tuesday and Wednesday of last week, law enforcement agents began arresting defendants named in a previously sealed indictment that had been returned by the grand jury here in Fresno the prior week. As of today, 15 of 22 defendants charged in the indictment have been arrested. The defendants are charged with conspiring to distribute and to possess with the intent to distribute methamphetamine, fentanyl, and cocaine, and some of the defendants are also charged with individual counts of distributing and possessing those drugs. We have copies of the indictment with redactions of individuals who have not yet been arrested. Copies are here and available for you to review. The investigation into this ring has been ongoing for well over a year and has resulted in the seizure of large amounts of drugs that were destined for the streets of the United States. Agents seized more than 12,900 pounds of methamphetamine, 23 kilograms of fentanyl mixture, 18 kilograms of cocaine, and 10 kilograms of heroin. Agents also seized 35 firearms. The organization smuggled into the United States from Mexico methamphetamine, cocaine, and fentanyl in various objects, including in portable projectors and batteries. All of this was under the appearance of being a legitimate transportation business. The organization also moved thousands of pounds of methamphetamine across the border that had been hidden inside semi-trucks, often stored in vegetable produce boxes. It also snuck hundreds of pounds of liquid methamphetamine across the border in the gas tanks of cars. As law enforcement has been seeing, drug trafficking organizations increasingly have been smuggling methamphetamine across the border in liquid form because it's harder to detect as a liquid. In one seizure at the border in this investigation, an associate of the organization was caught trying to drive a vehicle across the border with a gas tank loaded with over 45 pounds of methamphetamine solution. When liquid methamphetamine is smuggled into the United States, it is later converted back to its crystal form at secret conversion labs, something law enforcement has been finding more and more in this district. One of the large seizures in this investigation was at a conversion lab in northern Los Angeles County, where agents found over 724 pounds of methamphetamine solution and over 66 pounds of crystal methamphetamine. The Mexican-based suppliers monitored the smuggled drugs with the use of GPS tracking devices hidden with the drugs. Once the drugs were inside the United States, members of the organization received and stored them in stash houses and then packaged and transferred or delivered them for further distribution in California and to other states across the country. One of the large seizures of this investigation, over 2 tons of methamphetamine, 4,700 pounds of methamphetamine, was made from defendant Ruben Sines after he unloaded the drugs from a semi-truck and transferred them to a Penske rental truck. Other seizures of drugs in this investigation were made from redistributors supplied by the organization after a delivery to or a pickup by the redistributor was made. And as I noted earlier, in a number of seizures of drugs, agents also seized firearms. and some of the defendants sold firearms, including fully automatic weapons, to an undercover officer or informant in the investigation. Now we have here some poster boards with, one is the totals that I mentioned earlier here, 12,900 pounds of methamphetamine, 23 kilos of fentanyl, 18 kilos of cocaine, 10 kilos of heroin, and 35 firearms. These are silhouettes of the defendants charged in the indictment, returned 2 weeks ago, and the names of the ones who have already been arrested, the 15 currently arrested, have been placed on the poster board. The conversion lab that was seized in and taken down in northern Los Angeles County is on the far poster board there. You can see a number of the chemical agents and the drying bins where the liquid methamphetamine that got smuggled across the border is allowed to dry out and return to its crystal form. On these, at the far end over here, you see some of the ways that the methamphetamine was smuggled, including inside of a motorcycle seat. That's at the top. You see some of the firearms and the counterfeit M30s containing fentanyl that were seized during the investigation, either from purchases from defendants or from seizures from storage lockers. You see large amounts of methamphetamine that had crossed the border in semi-trucks, and then the bottom photos are looking from above on that far right lower corner is looking down into the partitioned gas tank of a car to see the liquid methamphetamine. And then this poster board nearest to me is the Penske rental truck that essentially picked up the 2.5 tons of methamphetamine in the vegetable produce boxes from a semi-truck and then placed it in the Penske truck for further distribution. So those are the poster boards here. I want to thank the FBI for its hard work on this investigation and for working to identify so many members of this prolific drug trafficking organization. I also want to thank the many other law enforcement agencies throughout California who assisted in the surveillance, searches, seizures, and arrests during the investigation, and in particular during its takedown. I also want to thank my colleague down in the Central District of California, the U.S. Attorney down there, Martin Estrada, and his office for the assistance they provided as a number of process documents went through their office and their courthouse, and a number of defendants have been arrested in the Central District and made their initial appearances in court down there. And then finally, I want to thank the prosecutor in my office who has worked with the agents throughout this investigation and who will handle the case in court as it goes forward, Assistant United States Attorney Justin Giglio. Now, during my over 20 years in the U.S. Attorney's Office in our district, the methamphetamine trafficking problem has gotten worse and worse. The volume of methamphetamine trafficked here is way up. The purity of the methamphetamine that is being trafficked is way up. And the price of that methamphetamine is way, way down. Even worse, drug trafficking organizations are now distributing in our district large amounts of another deadly product in their marketing lineup, fentanyl. Fentanyl is cheap. It comes in powder or counterfeit pill form, and it is deadly. As a synthetic drug, like methamphetamine, fentanyl is relatively inexpensive to make, and its manufacture is not dependent on good weather or good soil. Fentanyl now accounts for about 2/3 of the over 100,000 annual overdose deaths in the United States. It can kill in very small amounts. Only 2 milligrams of fentanyl is a potentially lethal dose. DEA labs that analyze counterfeit pills that are seized that contain fentanyl indicate that about 6 out of every 10 pills contain at least 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which means that 6 out of 10 fentanyl pills being tested today contain a potentially lethal dose. That's over half of the pills that are seized. people who take these pills are literally risking their lives. Each of the past 3 years, law enforcement in this country has seized enough fentanyl to kill every American. And that's just the fentanyl that law enforcement has seized. My office will continue to make it a high priority to disrupt and dismantle the most significant drug trafficking organizations that move large amounts of methamphetamine and fentanyl in and through the Central Valley and that engage in related firearms trafficking and violence. I'm proud of the work that my office is doing with our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to combat the flow of methamphetamine, fentanyl, and other illegal drugs into our district. Enforcement alone won't solve the nation's illegal drug crisis, but vigorous enforcement, as in this case, is needed in combination with effective awareness, prevention, and treatment efforts. Okay, at this time, I'd like to turn it over to ASAC Snow.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am Jonathan Snow. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Sacramento Field Office of the FBI. As U.S. Attorney Talbert outlined, this operation was the culmination of 4 years of teamwork and the FBI's dogged determination and strong investigative work to investigate this drug trafficking organization. We work collaboratively with our local partners and FBI personnel assigned around the globe, to include our legal attachés offices, to bring this case. We all know the flow of drugs from Mexico in this country are eroding our communities and threatening those ensnarled by addiction. The flow of illegal weapons, including fully automatic weapons, is another threat to the safety of all Americans. This operation provides a glimpse into the reason behind our shared concerns. More than 13,000 pounds of cocaine, methamphetamines, heroin, and fentanyl were seized over the past year because of this effort. We cannot ignore the threat to public safety and the economic impact to this activity. The street value alone of this 4-year operation tops $16 million. As the result of the suppliers who allegedly distribute an average of 13 pounds of drugs each day from this organization and are no longer in business. Stash houses are shuttered, distribution points are closed, and supply routes are disrupted. While this operation is complete, our work continues. I'd like to thank our investigative partners who aided in this investigation and seizures. California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, CBP, Customs and Border Protection, HSI, U.S. Postal Office and Inspector General, ATF, and I'd like to thank approximately over 200 personnel who helped to execute the arrest and search warrants on June 12th, include our partners, including the U.S. Marshals and the Los Angeles and San Francisco FBI field offices. While, of course, this is one battle in the war against these drug trafficking organizations, the FBI is committed to our ongoing efforts with our local and state and federal partners to do what we can to protect all Americans. We cannot be successful without your support.
Any questions for us?
Mr. Talbert?
Yes.
So these drugs, they crossed over Mexico and Mexico. How do they get through border security crossing the United States?
Well, they smuggle them in a number of different ways to avoid detection. Now, some are detected, and some seizures were made in this investigation at the border. But obviously, some drugs were, got across the border without being detected. So, some of them are in crystal form, the methamphetamine being jammed underneath the floorboards of trucks. Some of it comes across in liquid form that is harder to detect. Now, the one gas tank that we have photographs over here was detected, but I know that there's other liquid methamphetamine that crosses in that way that is, simply not detected. So some drugs are detected at the border, but some are not.
And is there an organization in Mexico that's behind all this?
Well, I think we in law enforcement know that the Sinaloa cartel and the Jalisco cartel, the two major cartels in Mexico, are responsible for a lot of the drug trafficking here. With respect to this case, we're still in the middle of arresting people. We think more information will come out on that topic, but for right now, I can just say generally, law enforcement, those two cartels in particular have our attention.
Just one more follow-up on this. Who would be the Gustavo Fring in this area?
Who'd be the
Breaking Bad reference. the local kingpin who's behind all this.
Well, so there are a number, right, that we've been prosecuting drug trafficking organizations that are really regionally based, and they are there's one defendant who on a wire called himself the king of M30s in Fresno, and there are others that operate in these regional organizations. This organization, unlike some of those that we've been prosecuting, operated both in Mexico and mainly in Southern California, although the drugs were moving and much of it was moving up into our area for further distribution, some in our district, but a lot of it across the country from here. So there's a number of these different organizations that are led by people, and what we try to do in our investigations is to not just take the couriers or the stash house operator, but to work up and identify the people responsible, at least in leading the particular organization. We think we've done that here in this case with these 22 defendants. So again, we're most of the way, but we're not all the way through arresting all the defendants. And I think once that happens, it'll be more clear who played what role in this particular organization.
Was this king of the M30 one of the ones arrested?
No, that's in a different case that's currently being litigated here in this courthouse.
Actually, I was going to ask you regarding this specific incident and this suspects, do they have any relation with the Central Valley? Are they related, somehow connected to Central Valley?
I think there's a variety of different, I think many of them are more connected with Southern California and Mexico than they are with here, but I think there is some connection in the organization here with the Central Valley, and some transactions did occur here and seizures did occur here in the Central Valley, in the Eastern District of California.
Do you happen to know which transactions or what exactly?
And that there's some more detail on that in. We filed a memo, which we can also make available to you in support of detention or release issue of one of the defendants, defendant by the name of Montiel.
Okay, and you mentioned the border. Which border? Is it the Tijuana or the Mexicali border? Which border are they causing most of this illegal?
That's a good. Is it through the San Isidro point of entry? Most through the San Isidro.
San Isidro, Otay Mesa.
Okay. Yeah.
Was Fresno a distributing point, or was LA the distributing point for this? Can you say?
I think you have to look at each of them as distribution points, because in Los Angeles, once the drugs are smuggled across, many of them are placed in stash houses in the Los Angeles area. Some, if the liquid meth, the conversion lab was in North Los Angeles County, although in other investigations unrelated to this, we've been seeing conversion labs in our district too.
And you talked about seeing more of those conversion labs. We used to have a lot of labs here. Yeah, I've been here for a long time. So are we seeing that uptick again in that kind of making the drug, or just refining the drug?
Refining the drug. So I was prosecuting these cases back 20 years ago when we were losing a lot of the labs that were local because of crackdowns on the availability of precursor chemicals here. So the labs essentially got forced out. The manufacturing labs got forced out. They're now down across the border in Mexico. So they manufacture the drugs there. The only reason we would have conversion labs here is that it's easier to smuggle without detection liquid meth than it is in its solid form. So they convert it to liquid meth, they move it across the border, and then they convert it at conversion labs here in the United States.
And are these labs still as dangerous as the ones that were we talked about as making the labs? Are they
They're dangerous from an environmental standpoint. I don't know if they're as dangerous as far as the different types of chemicals. Not all of the chemicals that are involved in the manufacture of meth are required in the conversion of meth.
Mr. Alvin, I just have some other questions of items in the news. Next month, the Big YCOs return to court. What are you going for in this case? Are you going for jail time with this?
I'm not going to comment on that. They're ongoing matters in negotiation, and I anticipate at some point we'll be able to resolve that case. But
Because, based on the indictment that came out at the time last year, I mean, it seems like there's a lot more stuff in there that they're alleging than that one count each would indicate. So, is it possible there may be more counts?
and that again, I'm not going to comment further on Bitwise.
We may hear from you later.
Yeah, I think so.
You want to take a stab, police chief? Any comments about that?
Police chief? No. No. We have a good partnership with the Fresno Police Department, and that's all I'll say about that.
Does what happened compromise anything criminally?
And I can't comment on that. But. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate.
How many agents were involved in all this?
That's a great question. So we had over 200 agents. We had agents from the Los Angeles field office, San Francisco office, Sacramento office, who traveled to Los Angeles to do this execution of the warrants.
And what are they, how many, 23 or whatever?
22.
22. How, were they all from the LA area, Sacramento, can you say?
I would say majority of them from the LA area.
Were all these individuals arrested all together or separately?
The initial was to arrest all of them together, but due to just not being, some of those were not present at that time, we've continued to keep working on and locating the individuals, and we are arresting them as we speak, continue.
Are they still all in custody?
I believe so.
No, actually, no. In making initial appearances in the Central District of California, at least some have been ordered released on conditions by the court.
Thank you.
And the 15th arrest was just last night. So as of yesterday during the day, it was 14.
And that 15th arrest was in LA County?
At the border.
At the border? Okay.
Are you guys expecting to continue to arrest more people, or are you
Yes.
still working on the?
We'll keep working until we've arrested the other
I
7.
know almost 13,000 pounds of methamphetamine seems like a lot, but in the whole grand scheme, is this a bit, I mean, how much drugs are coming over the border?
A
This is
lot.
This is a 4-year, right? So
A lot. Well, the seizures were over a period of about a year and a half?
A year and a half.
Year and a half? Okay.
Okay.
But the investigative work was over a 4-year course, is that?
Yes, the kind of preliminary work that led to this active investigation of about a year and a half.
So that amount of drugs came in within a year and a half.
Yes.
That's saying a lot how much.
With
drugs-
one organization.
But that's saying a lot how much drugs, if only that much was caught. There's got to be more.
I'm sure I won't speculate as to what they were
Right.
responsible for that we did not seize. But
Are all these U.S. citizens that were arrested?
and I'm not going to comment on that. We're still arresting. We're still dealing with each one of them individually in court.
Do you believe that some of them may have been Mexican nationals or other nationals?
That's possible, but
Is the Mexican government helping out with this investigation at all?
I'm not going to comment on this investigation in particular, but we do cooperate, and the Mexican government cooperates with us at law enforcement level in these types of cases.
Is there anyone could talk about the different pictures up there about what we're seeing in them? Like, I mean, what you see
With the
containers
conversion
and
lab?
the pictures up on top up there that look like they're ice containers. The top pictures up there. What is that manufacturing, or is that what you guys are
So
talking
this
about?
is all the conversion lab. So this is all
Can
in.
you mind staying the mics?
Yeah, this is all in North Los Angeles County for the conversion lab. There are various chemicals that are used to help dry the liquid methamphetamine out, and then the methamphetamine literally has to spend time in solution returning back to its solid form. So that's what you're seeing there.
Okay. Was this in one house or many houses?
This is in one house.
The whole thing? Wow.
Yeah, in a little town called Pearl Blossom in North Los Angeles County, east of Palmdale.
Kids involved in the house? Any? Oh, no.
Not
No?
that I know of.
Okay.
But some of the suspects are pretty young or in their 20s. What's the message for the community overall, just when you see this type of incidents, that's affecting, even though many of the labs that you guys have found are not here in the area, what's the message for the people that are concerned?
The message is for people who are involved, don't get involved in this. As you see, there are 22 people in this organization. Some play, more leading roles, and others are more followers.